All right, so welcome to another video from the chart readers. This is Stock Talks number 18. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe on YouTube. It really is the fastest way to get all the videos. So today we're going to take a fourth look at energy and oil. We're going to start on the oil side and then work our way towards energy. It's hard to decide who the big boy is in this, but I went with OXY again because I've mentioned there was a pretty big buy from Warren Buffett. So I know this gave it a little extra juice, but really in general, we're going to do what we always do, right? We're going to start on the daily. We're going to use our moving averages as well as these support and resistance lines that I've drawn, and then just kind of do a double check on these lower indicators down here. So what do we see with OXY? Really a couple things, right? The last time we made this video was the 9th. So about a little more than a week of trading, right? And you'll see what actually did happen is we got a really nice bounce up after the 8th, right? It started to look really scary right here because again, we just gave up every single moving average, right? That's a horrible thing, right? We were trading well above the 8, above the 50, above the 20, above the 100, and then just in a 2-day span lose them all, right? It does seem like we filled this little mini gap over the last couple days, but this 64.69 line seems like a pretty hard line. We've hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've hit it 9 times, and we've really never gotten that like consistent pass, right? So I would actually say, again, not financial advice, but a good buy at 65.81 might be a cool ride up to here. Not quite 10%, but yeah, it seems to be struggling to break this. But if it can, it should go up pretty well. Overall, yeah, like I said, it's just really been riding this channel and just been struggling with this line right here. So a 9 hit is pretty high, right? You would expect it to break at some point, but again, there's a tight cluster here, so anything can happen. Again, it could lose this. Hopefully it keeps going up. But there are a couple positive things I do see here, okay? We've at least been riding most of it. It almost looks like we've been riding this 100 pretty hard. Obviously, there were 2 scare points here and here, right? But we've been pretty much doing this little uptrend here. I'm glad we filled the gap pretty quickly here, but ultimately what is going to happen is we're either going to break the 64, basically we'll call it 65, we'll break the $65 line, or we're going to lose this $60 range, right, and start dropping into the 50s. So what do the lower indicators look like? I mean, look, we're still in the positive, but it seems like the green wants to go under the red. The green is actually under the red in the RSI, but we're at least sitting at 50, which is pretty good. But look, I mean, it's been super tight here, it's been super tight here, and really it's been super tight here. So looking for something drastic. I'm just going to move into the weekly real quick. So the weekly has a little bit more of a positive, right? Last week we actually came above the 8 and the 20, and so far we're above the 8 and the 20 still, and we're actually above 50% candle. So look, 61.58 is really the lowest I'd feel comfortable in OXY. This line right here. I think if we lose this line, I would probably say goodbye. Because again, we've also started to test this line a few times too, right? A support can only support so many times before you go under, right? So hopefully this is an important channel. Hopefully we break this. Otherwise, we're going to lose this. So yeah, sit tight, right? Again, it's still a little tight here. I will be honest with you. The way I move my money, I use a different thing. I use something I call the 1, right? So I would look at a couple other indicators, but just looking here, let's get above the 8 and more importantly, get above this number, right? Get above 65. Otherwise, 61.50 is going to be a pretty hard floor. So that was OXY. Moving over to INDO, Indonesia Energy Corp. Okay, so again, we made this video on the 9th, and kind of just like the other one, it's just really been sitting in this channel right here, right? It's hit this support a few times, it's tested this resistance a couple times, and really it's trying to get over the 20. Right? It just seems like the 20 is a struggle for this thing. And today was a pretty bad day, right? I know it only looks like, well, it's less than 5%, right? So it doesn't look massive, but you know, it's tried to break the 20, failed. Tried to break the 20, hard fail. You know, you can only do so many attempts before it says, you know, we're done, right? I don't like this right here. The green line looks like it's sloping down while the red is kind of staying up. You know, I mean, Indo's had some meme moments, but Indo looks a lot worse than OXY for sure. And again, look, just even on the weekly, we haven't even been over the 8, right? OXY's at least at a place where it's over the 8, right? I'm going to go back to OXY real quick on this weekly view. You know, at least OXY has been over the 8 and over the 20 on the weekly, right? Lost it here, trying it again, still over it now, right? Indo just staying under the 8 on the weekly, right? So if the weekly's looking not great, it's going to be hard for the daily to have consecutive days, right? I mean, just think about it. So that's how you use different time frames. But Indo not looking too good. Again, ultimately, I would say the same thing. I really wouldn't touch this thing until the 630 break. Yeah, because clearly just this 20 line isn't that good. Even if we break it once, you need that confirmation, right? Which would pretty much be here, right? So even if we like got to here, I'd still need to get right here. And that's close enough to where I'd just break this before I'd even touch it. Do I have lines underneath that 580? I don't. Oh, I do. Okay, perfect. But look at that. There's a pretty hard gap right there, right? So if 588 fails, and as of right now it is failing, but again, it's caught us a number of times. But if it fails, it could head down to that low 5, right? Be careful on Indo. Be very careful on Indo. CEI. Okay. Roughly same story, right? Again, we made this video on the 9th. It seems like it's trying to get over this 36 cent line. That was a little hard to get out. But overall, a couple things, right? Trying to get over the 8, not really a thing it's been successful at. It looked like it had 2-day confirmation here, but again, didn't really get over. It just got to 50% candle, right? Almost over it, but then the next day failed and then again failed. So if we lose 36 cents, looks like it'll go down to 34. Really, I would want to get over this. I mean, look, this one's a tight one, so I mean, a couple pennies really is about 10%. So you can, I would really only like day swing this, like day trade this. I would not feel comfortable holding this overnight. CEI, you need to do something to show some life. What does the weekly look like? Again, not that good, right? It literally hasn't been over the 8. It's almost tested it at this point. But yeah, CEI needs a little bit. I will say it looks like the RSI wants to creep. It's actually kind of the first real consecutive weeks of the RSI being up. But again, I need to see some life. And again, you can see that 38 cent is also pretty much a break of the 8 on the weekly. So that's definitely the comfortable line, I would say. Break that, and it's a little less risk almost, right? Not that anything is not risky, because this is not financial advice. This is just my opinion. IMPP. Okay, so look, a couple things, right? We made this video on the... Did I not make any lower lines? Dang. Okay, so look at that. I think I just kind of assumed it might have broken the 8 that the following day, and clearly it didn't, right? And look, I almost don't need to draw any lines, because look, all we're doing is staying under the 8, right? This is why I do love that 8 moving average. You can really use it as a moving resistance or support, right? There's nothing better than when it is a support and it's just riding it up. This right here is just a moving resistance that it wants to break but can't, 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 right? Hopefully this rising RSI might be a little bit of a help, but yeah, get over the 8, right? That's almost rule number 1 if you've been watching these videos. So IMPP, I would not touch it before. And again, I want something that has a weekly that's over the 8, right? Because that at least gives me the chance of maybe I'll get 2 or 3 days in a row that's good, right? Because even if you lose 2, you're still kind of getting a better week three out of the two. Again, obviously percentages make a difference, right? But high level speaking, you want your weekly to look good if you want a couple days in a row, right? You want your monthly to look good if you want a couple weeks in a row, right? So learn how to play with your time frames. Me personally, I kind of day swing, right? I like going to bed, waking up, and hopefully seeing 7% or more, right? That's a great morning to wake up to, right? So for me, I care per day, and I'll look at the week. For some people, they don't got the time for that, right? So hey, look at the month, play every week, right? And so on and so forth. Different strategies for different people. Let me go back to the daily. So far, OXY is really the only one I've liked in that little chunk of tickers. Let's move to, oh man, what happened here? Okay, so did I draw lines above 420? I did. Okay, so again, we made this video on the 9th, which was this trading day. And really look, again, just kind of talking about it. This is what it's like when you just ride the 8. You know, sometimes you'll come down. This was a bad example, but hopefully you hit the 8 and then just kind of bounce back, hit the 8, kind of bounce, and then lose the 8. Now you're riding under it, right? So what happened? It looks like it tried to break this 420 line and make that run to the 460, right? Roughly. It got as high as 445, we'll call it, give or take. But then, look, once you lose the 8 and then you lose some more moving averages, all you're going to do is probably lose some more moving averages, right? So, again, once you lose them, it just really dominoes. Hopefully, this 50, which was the very last one, right, kind of ties with this line as well as this line. But hopefully the 50 is strong enough to kind of bounce it back up, right? We gained the 50 here. We started to take the 200 and the 100, but you know, I've said it before. It happens when you gain them, you lose them. Hopefully you bounce back off at least one strong one, right? So hopefully it is that 50. Otherwise, again, I don't need to make new lines. You see what's happening, right? And this is just a bad view, especially if it's kind of starting to happen on the MACD too, right? Green is doing this downward slope. Red just kind of isn't going as down. And then again, kind of the same thing on that MACD. So UEC, hopefully you get a bounce off the 50. It looks like it is close to my 371 line, right? But really the 50 is the one that's going to matter here. Dang, that's what happens, right? You lose a moving average, you start to lose some lines, and it just dominoes, right? It's great when it's the other way around, but GEVO. So I'll be honest, I actually thought when Biden signed his climate and energy thing, GEVO would have done a little bit better. Don't get me wrong, it's had a very nice run, right? I mean, from let's call it 260 to like 360, right? I mean, that's a dollar right there. Nonetheless, what are we looking at? We've ridden the 8 for a pretty long time. Right now, we're at a place where we're actually below the 8 and below the 100. We might come as low as the 20 actually and maybe bounce off that. It does look like this is kind of cooling off, right? I mean, our RSI got as high almost 90, right? 87. So some cool off is expected. Also, the NASDAQ's kind of slowing down along with the other ones, right? We're coming up to a good resistance, but hopefully the week does end okay. All that said, a lot of these tickers are going to play as strong as the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P play, right? But hopefully, again, we bounce off one of these major lines. Let's just look at the weekly. So we beat the 20 last week, and we're pretty much right on it as of right now, right? There's still a couple days left, but it would be really good. What is this 20 at actually? 338. If you see over there, average 20, 338. It would be really good if by Friday, GEVO stays above 338. That'll be pretty important actually. Again, a good weekly chart will help you on a good daily chart. Last one to look at is LIACF. Again, I keep talking about breaking out lithium. We'll see how that does end up happening. But really, since the 9th, it's been a pretty good run, right? So what happened? Breaks the 100, kind of comes back, really tests the 100, and continues to ride up, right? We are literally at that 200 line, right? So the 200, it's the highest one we have, and it's always the hardest one to break, right? RSI was pretty high, 88 again. So a cool down is expected if the NASDAQ slows down, is expected. As long as we don't lose this 100, overall it should be okay. I know that's a pretty hard drop, right? But again, this is actually a penny stock. So you've got to expect some more movements with penny stocks, right? Weekly, where are we at? Look, we're at least 2 days over the 20, which is great. Breaking the 50 would be a pretty big thing to do, but yeah, a lot happening on LIACF. And again, as a penny stock would be, right? If the majors aren't good, these will be bad. So this has been a good review. If there's ever any questions, if you want me to look at other tickers that aren't here, throw them in the comments. I'll quickly get back to you and happy to adjust for next week. Hope you're doing well. Again, not financial advice, just hoping you're learning. And hey, subscribe one more time. Thank you.